so my son Oshan was born with a profound disability, and we would take him to lots of theatre. I have a background in theatre, so I was always passionate that he was involved in theatre, especially when he had siblings and we wanted to access the arts together as a family. But we soon realised that even though he could physically come into the space, that he wasn't actually engaging with the story on a sensory level.
My background is as a theatre maker and a writer, and I also recently finished my training as a music and creative arts therapist, and a lot of my work in training was with people with profound disabilities. So I suppose I'm really interested in how those two worlds intersect, and again looking at accessible theatre and how we don't just look at that from the perspective of, you know, physically someone being able to enter a theatre, but someone being able to enter the world. And I think me and Anna are really interested in really getting in there with people with profound disabilities and entering their world, and you know, making work that means that they are able to not just come into a theatre but engage with the story on a sensory level. So the work that we're making is very much with and for people with profound disabilities. Well, Greenfingers started with a phone call, didn't it? Yes. With Anna phoning me and saying, let's make a sensory show. And I was like, well, that's brilliant. I had so many ideas, but it's, you know, it's hard to think about what the world of that is and like how we begin to create that. And obviously we're currently at the Sherman Theatre in Cardiff, and I had a conversation with Fran, who is also our director and also the head of creative engagement here, about our company. And it was just this really weird moment where Fran said, well, actually I had an idea for a sensory show about 7 years ago that I was going to do, and then it never really happened because of COVID, and that was Greenfingers.
It was really dreamt up during a project in 2018, which was a co-production between National Theatre Wales and Oili Cart, who were kind of the pioneers of theatre for specialist audiences. We were making a piece of theatre that toured around hydrotherapy pools in Wales, and there was a real lack of provision for this sort of work. So I came up with the idea for Greenfingers then, but with COVID and the pandemic, it wasn't really the moment to try to develop that work. So it sort of sat on the back burner until a fortuitous meeting with Katie, which led to me becoming involved with Oshi's World. And it's really grown from a very simple, no pun intended, seed of an idea that I had 6 years ago into something really like much grander, much more ambitious, more exciting, more magical, because of the input that we've had from everybody over the course of the week. First was conceived 6 years ago, grow into something that feels really tangible, and that still really has that underserved audience at its heart.
Can you say hi?
Hello, Imi, welcome to our garden, welcome to our garden. Hello, Imi, welcome to our garden.
So we very much can't make our work and don't want to make our work without the voices and the experiences of people who have the lived experience of having or caring for someone with PMLD. So this world is built very much with their voices at the heart of it.
You know, the sensory theatre is so close and it's so intimate, and it was really important that we had kind of the world around, the sensory world, but also bringing that world right close into somebody that might have, you know, they're visually impaired or they're deaf, and so they are feeling music, they're not necessarily listening to music, and they are having such an intimate access to that story. And so that was it was really important for us to try and get into that space for this R&D, and we have had a couple of audience members as well that have enabled us to kind of experiment those ideas with them, and we've had some great feedback from them as well.
There's not many things out there that are completely focused on children like ours. I mean, there could be shows that say they're sort of accessible and for the disabled community, but to have something completely focused on PMLD and to focus on what's right for them and to consider their feelings and their senses is just it's quite emotional really, and it's quite nice that Yeah, our kids are seen and are special, and it's all for them, and it's just lovely.
Oh, it was lovely. The moment that you walked in with my daughter, I felt that she felt like she was in her own space. It was a space that was relevant to her. It was a comfortable space, and it felt like you walked into a garden, which I thought was, I didn't know what to expect, but I did feel it was a very a comfortable space, that she felt that it was her space, and as a disabled young person, it makes it easier that she didn't feel uncomfortable, or you don't feel uncomfortable for her, because that's the trouble when you go to a theatre. Sometimes you do feel like you're the odd one, you're the ones that are in the way, and for her to feel comfortable was the most important thing, because it's about her and her peers feeling safe and in an experience that they wouldn't necessarily get anywhere else.
And we feel like we're on the cusp of something really exciting now, don't we? We've learned so much from this week and from our audience and from the feedback that we've got. So our aim moving forward would be to take Greenfingers to production. We want to take it, it's definitely around Wales. I mean, we'd love to extend beyond that, but we're starting with Wales because at the moment we are Wales's first theatre company making sensory work specifically for people with PMLD. There's nothing that exists currently in the Welsh language, so we're very much looking at how we can use Welsh language alongside that, because a lot of people that we work with won't have ever had the experience of, you know, being sung to in Welsh in a theatrical space. So that feels really important to us to just get out there really and meet people.
So we think it's a fundamental right, a fundamental human right for everybody to be able to access art and culture and theatre as part of that. So this is a really important element of the kind of wider cultural landscape to ensure that that provision exists, and that that everybody has that, because everybody should be able to experience theatre, and by creating work with that audience in mind, we're making sure that that is definitely happening.
There is a space for you in a theatre, and there is a space for you in a creative space, and the arts it's for everybody, and we all know and love that feeling of going into a theatre and watching a live performance and realising that yes, like we can do it, we can be part of that community. I think is a very exciting place to be in.